Hi, I'm Jeff Baust. I teach in electronic production and design at Berklee College of Music, and I teach Pro Tools classes with Berklee Online. In this video, we're going to look at using track groups to organize a Pro Tools session so that you can work a little faster, a little more efficiently as you're mixing a project. So let's take a look at that. In this video, we're going to have a look at making some track groups and see how they can help us just control and manage a big session here. I've got a pop song. It's not terribly big as far as sessions go. It's got a fair number of tracks. And it's a pop song. It sounds a little like this. I'll just play a little bit of the verse.
We're the kings and queens of the wild things, flying in space round Saturn's rings. The universe is ours for the taking.
Like so. So we've got a lot of tracks. I like to be able to get control over them in groups, and so that I can do things like change their levels, solo them, mute them, and some other things. So the thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to create some groups by first selecting multiple tracks that I'd like to have be part of a group. And I'm going to start with the drums. I got kick, snare, hat, overheads, toms, and a couple of different room mics here. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to say, let's make a new group. Now I could make separate edit window groups and mix window groups, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm just going to make one group that'll show up in both the edit and the mix window. These are the tracks that will be part of this group. If I change my mind, I can always take one guy out or put him back again. These are the things that will be linked within the groups. Some things are always linked, like the fader levels, but here I can also link the mutes and solos and so forth. Before I make this group, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Kit. And I'm going to give it an ID, a letter, and that's kind of important. I'm going to use the letter K for Kit, kind of makes sense, and there it is. So this is my group. So in the mix window here, what this group will do, it will let me link all of these track faders together, solo all the tracks, and mute all the tracks. That can be really handy for working on this session because I can, solo the drums, mute the drums, turn them up and down while I'm working on the mix.
We're the kings and queens of the wild things, flying in space round Saturn's rings. The universe is ours.
And that's just a lot faster than dealing with each track individually. So I might go through and make some groups for other things as well. I got loops and the claps together, and I'm thinking they probably could be a percussion group. Call it perk. I'm going to go with the letter P for perk for percussion. Kind of makes sense. And like so. Now I probably should have put the flange, snare, and the shakers in that group as well. So again, this is not a big deal. I can just say I want to modify a group. So let's say I want to choose to modify this group I've already made perk, and what I wish is that flanging snare and shakers were part of this, and boom. Now they are. You can see they're all part of the perk group. And I'll just go through and make some others. Here's the synth tracks. I got 3 synth tracks here. Bunch of guitars. I think I'll just make a group out of all of them for right now, and so forth. So I'll just go through and make some groups. All right, and now you can see I have a whole bunch of groups here laid out so that if I'm working on this song here, I can have a number of these groups turned on. Here's the percussion. Here's the synth tracks here. All of the guitars, currently members of just one group. There's 2 piano-ish kinds of parts, so I made a group called keys. There's a couple of fun things, a xylophone and somebody whistling, so I called that group fun. And then all of the vocals, I just called it Vox. And then also I made a second group that includes just some of the vocals called doubles. So these 2 here are members of the group Vox Double and also members of the group Vox. So these tracks are members of more than one group. And actually I can see that up here where all of the groups that are active are designated with their letter in lowercase, except here, these guys are designated with uppercase. And that's because Pro Tools is trying to tell me that these 2 tracks are the members of more than one active group. If I make the Vox double track inactive, you can see that we no longer have the capital V, we just have the lowercase v. And the same is true with Vox harms here, these harmony vocals. The capital V is telling me that these guys are members of more than one active group. If I deactivate the vocal group here, then you can see more clearly who's a member of what group. So this will let me work with this session a little more efficiently. I'll go into narrow view so I can see more faders. And as I'm working, I can just work on some balances.
We're the kings and queens of the wild things, flying in space round Saturn's rings. The universe.
Now, if I want to make an adjustment to just one member of the group, let's say in the kit, for example, maybe I want to bring up the hi-hat with the group active. If I try to do that, of course, they all get louder. So what I would want to do is just deactivate the group, make my change, and reactivate the group, now with this new proportional relationship here. I can also activate or deactivate the group just by typing its letter, the letter K. That's here on the mix window. On the edit window, that will be true as long as the keyboard focus here is set to groups. If it's set to something else, for example, over here, then typing letters on the keyboard will do something else. They'll invoke various commands. But if I have the keyboard focus over here set on groups, I can make that group active or inactive here as well. Although it turns out I don't actually need to make the group inactive if I just want to change one member of the group. I can just hold down the control key on my keyboard, and then I can just make that change. So without holding down control, I can change all of the levels for the kit or whatever. And then if I hold down control, there it is. If I want to solo all the drums, I can do that. If I want to solo just the overheads, I could deactivate the group and solo the overheads. Or I could just simply control solo the overheads, even with the group active. So that's a bit about setting up some track groups and some handy things to know about how you can use them just to get a session under control and really start to manage your tracks.